And so, my fellow Americans, ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country.
I am a real American.
Good morning, everybody. It's CSAP here, your common sense American Patriot. I am going live today. It looks like it's working. I'm not having any dropped frames. Everything looks like it's going fine. I'm going to double check just to see on my Facebook page if I have gone live. This is what I was trying to do. I want to get this show live, so I do it live. I live stream to everybody. And like I said, it looks like everything's working good today. So we're going to continue on here with my show. So anyhow, I hope everybody had a great weekend. I did. I was able to hang out. I got a lot of family time in this weekend. Went to the beach. It was a very nice beach day. I got to hang out and do some swimming. I went fishing with my son. So just tried to do a lot of family activities this weekend. My wife's schedule changed and my schedule changed. So it's allowed us to do some more family time. And that's what I am hoping to do more of and have some more family time. I got some features here. I'm just not quite seeing them load. I wanted to see them load here, but not quite seeing it. So I was hoping to see some of your guys' live chat, see who is on there. And I'm also not seeing it on my Facebook page, but that's okay. We'll continue on anyhow. I was hoping to be able to see some chat. I added a plugin that was supposed to allow me to see some chats, but I don't see it. So that is what it is. I'll keep working on it. Like I said, this is a work in progress. I'm trying to do a daily show here, Monday through Friday around this time. I want to try to get on there. I want to try to get live around 9, 10-ish in the morning Pacific time so I can have it out, edited and everything. We'll have the live broadcast obviously live, but then I'll have it edited and put out for my podcast version and for my YouTube version by 11 or noon here Pacific time. So let's get right into it. This weekend was a crazy weekend of essentially one news story. So I woke up Saturday morning to the news that Jeffrey Epstein has hung himself and is now dead under suicide watch. Well, at least that's what everybody was told until this weekend, that Jeffrey Epstein was on suicide watch for his attempted suicide just a couple weeks ago. Now, if you're not familiar with Jeffrey Epstein is he's a money manager that is very rich, a billionaire, I believe, multimillionaire, billionaire. And he owns an island down in the Virgin Islands. And he owns his own little island. And allegedly that there is some very horrific things that have, demonic things that have gone down on this island. He's already been prosecuted once for pedophilia, essentially. He's been underage children he's had sexual acts with, and he's been prosecuted for it. And he was pretty much let off. He was looking at 45 years in prison for these sex acts, and he essentially got a slap on the hand and did 13 months or something like that and let go. And Bill Clinton, he's got a lot of high-powered people, and this is kind of the big part of the story, is a lot of high-powered people. Bill Clinton has been known like something 27 times on his plane, his private jet, that flew to this island out there in the Virgin Islands, where he has his own private island, where allegedly a lot of these sexual deviants went down with underage women. We have like Kevin Spacey, Hillary Clinton's John Podesta. He's been known to be down there. Bill Clinton on there 27 times. And the media is trying to attach Trump to this, but Trump threw this guy out of his Mar-a-Lago building when he was allegedly kind of talking to inappropriate to a 14-year-old girl. And there's court documents that back this up. So that's kind of the backstory of this Jeffrey Epstein. And he was just arrested in early July for more people have come forward and they found more sexual things that this guy's done. This guy's a sexual predator. He's a registered like class 3 sexual predator in New York for his previous crimes. And so now he was arrested early January for more activities with minors. They raided his home and they found photos of underage children. And so that's what he's being here. That's what he's been charged on. And they had enough evidence that the judge gave him 0 bail. So this guy, obviously there's enough over this guy's head to have 0 bail. So he attempted to hang himself a couple weeks ago, and it didn't work. They were able to find him, but he didn't successfully kill himself. So he was put on suicide watch. So if this guy's on suicide watch, how was he able to kill himself? So let's go through the timeline here. I've got a timeline here that we're going to go through. So I got TMZ here. I try to use different news sources because I like to get it from all different places. So I don't just stick to one. So that's why I'm going to use TMZ here. It had the best kind of outline of what happened. So Saturday morning at 6:51 a.m., federal law enforcement sources tell TMZ Epstein hanged himself in the facility. Okay, we're going to get back to this because we don't know if he really even hung himself. So that's the start of it. That's what we all woke up to Saturday morning. 7:42. What's interesting, the facility had Epstein in a special housing unit, suicide watch, since the first incident, which again happened just a couple weeks prior to this. Guards were supposed to maintain the inmate under direct continuous observation 24 hours a day. The lights in the unit are not even turned off, which makes this whole situation odd. Correct. So this is even coming from TMZ. This whole situation is very odd. He's in a special housing unit. He's supposed to have 24-hour coverage. The lights are never supposed to be off. He already attempted to hang himself. This is a high-profile person with ties to very, very high-profile people. This guy should have been under constant watch without no questions asked. This guy should have ever been left alone, no eyes off of him or anything, especially on a suicide watch. So let's continue here. At 8:29, law enforcement sources tell us the protocol in the suicide watch unit where Epstein was held is for monitors to record the movements of the inmates. So there should be video showing exactly what happened unless someone erased over it. So there should be video, but from everything I've read and heard is there's no video. There's only video outside the door of his cell. So we should be able to see who's gone in and out of the cell, but that's not been released. Nobody said anything about that. So we continue here. At 9:19 a.m., there are now reports Epstein may not have been under suicide watch. So now he's not under suicide watch? Sources familiar with the case say that that would be a violation of protocol since anyone suspected of being suicidal is put on suicide watch, and authorities believe the first incident was suspected suicide attempt. So if he was on suicide watch, how did this happen? And if he wasn't on suicide watch, why wasn't he? Thank you, TMZ, for a very left-leaning page, for asking the proper questions. Why was this guy not on suicide watch? Apparently. He already tried to commit suicide, allegedly, 2 weeks ago, and now we're 2 weeks later and he's dead by apparent suicide. How did this happen? So now we get into the next part. Right here. 9:44. Attorney General William Barr just weighed in on Epstein's suicide, saying, Mr. Epstein's death raises serious questions that must be answered. In addition to the FBI's investigation, I have consulted with the Inspector General, who is opening an investigation into the circumstances of Mr. Epstein's death. Perfect. Again, because this is so egregious. How did this happen? This guy has so much information on so many people. How was this guy allowed to hang himself, allegedly, after already attempting to do this 2 weeks prior? So continuing on to the timeline. 10:36 a.m. A federal law enforcement source tells TMZ Epstein was off suicide watch at the time he hanged himself. The source would not comment on why prison officials would remove Epstein from suicide watch, given that they believe he may have attempted suicide days earlier. Again, why? How is this guy off suicide watch? How does this happen? He already attempted suicide 2 weeks ago. So what, from 2 weeks ago to now, and he's still under immense pressure? I'm no longer attempting to kill myself. So, listen, you don't want conspiracies, but this stinks to high heaven, and this is how and why people get into the conspiracy game. They don't know what's going on, and you make it even more confusing and harder for people to know the truth. That's why the American public altogether is very frustrated with a lot of things in the government. Stuff like this guy, and you talk about government wanting to protect us, and you want to take away our gun rights. Government was supposed to cover this guy and make sure he doesn't hang himself that's what he was under, a suicide watch. And then he was still able to hang himself and kill himself. So get out of here when you talk about government's going to take care of you. Good luck with that. I mean, this is how conspiracy theories run rampant. And this is crazy. I'm not a conspiracy guy. I'm not a tinfoil guy. But This is insane how this guy was able to kill himself. On top of how high profile he is, this should have never, ever even happened. Not even the first time. So here we go. So finishing off here, 11/28. Law enforcement sources familiar with the matter tell TMZ Epstein was taken off suicide watch after he met with medical professionals who evaluated him after his first alleged suicide attempt. We are told Epstein was found to be well enough to sent back to his cell in a special housing unit without extra eyes on him. So Epstein was briefly on suicide watch, but at some point between July 23rd and today, he was removed. What? I don't know. There's fishy stuff here. I'm only speculating because I don't know how the ins and outs works. But if you just attempted suicide, and this wasn't like a cry for help, he was found unconscious in his jail cell from attempting suicide before. So this isn't like he was just doing a cry for help. This dude was legit trying to kill himself. And so between July 23rd, 2 weeks have gone by, he was able to get off suicide watch that fast. I don't think so. Obviously something fishy is going on here. Something happened. And so then the final one here is at 12:01 on Saturday. A body believed to be Jeffrey Epstein was just loaded into a medical examiner's van out of the same hospital where he was taken to this morning. And it looks like law enforcement took extra steps to hide the scene this time around him, because there's pictures that have kind of leaked out of pictures of him being worked up. When I say worked up, like CPR was being done to him when he was being brought into this medical facility. And the conspiracies are running rampant. There's the picture of his face, and a lot of people are saying it's not the same nose, it's not the same ear, it's not the same person. Who knows? We're never gonna know. That's what sucks about this whole situation. It's so wishy-washy, so weird. There's so many unanswered questions going on here, and it's disgusting. This guy was a high-profile pedophile, an absolute vile human being. And he has a wealth of knowledge. Who were all his conspirators in this? Like I said, all these people, photos of John Podesta, Bill Clinton, are on photos. They're photographed on his island where a lot of this stuff is allegedly taking place. And I do want to bring up a little thing here. So I'm going to pull up TMZ again. So they have all these people. Oh, here's the picture. So there's the picture of them too, where they were brought into the hospital of Epstein. And this is where they're saying it's not his nose, it's not these other things. But look what TMZ posts. And this goes back to the media. TMZ actually wrote a very good article of all the things that happened and asked the right questions. But who did they put a picture of Epstein with? Donald Trump. So it goes back to the media. There's no photos of Donald Trump on this pedophile island, yet TMZ puts a photo of Trump. Why not a photo of Bill Clinton, John Podesta, all these other high-powered people that have been photographed on his island for these horrific things, for this essentially like this orgy island of pedophilia? It's disgusting. And of course, the mainstream media, TMZ, puts a picture of Trump and Epstein together. They are going to try to link Trump to Epstein every which way they can. Again, just like the Russian collusion, there's nothing there, but they're going to try to attach him anyways. So it's just crazy how they do that. God forbid you put out the absolute truth. Hey, look, Bill Clinton was kind of photographed here. He's been on his plane 27 times. Maybe we should put a photograph of Bill Clinton and Jeffrey Epstein. And this goes beyond. This isn't like politics. This is children being human trafficked, pedophilia on an island. I mean, this thing should be blown wide open. Every person. And guess what? I'm going to say it out here. If Trump had anything to do with it, I hope they go after him full bar. I take him out because this is disgusting, and this is what needs to change in this country. All these high-powered people are protected. The Democrat Party is protected. The Republicans get it a lot worse. They're not quite as protected as Democrats are. But this shouldn't even be a political issue. This should be children. Our children are being raped by these rich men that have private islands. It's disgusting. I mean, this guy's already a convicted pedophile. This should be blown wide open. No questions asked. It shouldn't be political. It shouldn't be anything. But it just makes me sick that I just went on that little tangent because they're tying Trump to this when they have other high-profile people on his island, and they know it, but they continue to ignore it and try to spin that it's all Trump. It's on Trump. If Trump had anything to do with it, I hope he goes down with the rest of them. So that's going on here. So this is talking about, I got an article from the New York Post here. It says Jeffrey Epstein was taken off suicide watch at his lawyer's request. So here we go. Millionaire pedophile Jeffrey Epstein, who apparently killed himself while in federal custody in Manhattan, was taken off suicide watch in late July at the request of his attorneys, according to a report. And I like how they said apparently killed himself, because here's a couple theories that are going out there that he didn't really kill himself. He's put in witness protection, which you never know. In this day and age with the government, you never know. They could have easily went in there. I'm going to go into some more things that protocol wasn't followed during this whole morning when he apparently killed himself. But maybe this guy did start singing. Maybe he was a songbird like John McCain and started ratting all these people out who were on his island, giving up documentations. They're going to have to protect this guy, so they took him out. So that's one of the theories, is that he's not really dead, as the New York Post here said, apparently killed himself, because nobody really knows. This thing is so weird that nobody knows. So that's the first one, is that maybe they took him out and he's in witness protection. He's not even really dead. Who knows? I don't want to say so. And the other one is Hillary got to him and killed him. Not Hillary herself per se. Obviously, she didn't walk in the jail cell, but her reach is very, very far. I'm going to say it again. Seth Rich, apparent suicide, shot in the back of the head, robbed. Not suicide. He didn't suicide, but a botched robbery where nothing was taken, but he just was shot 2 times in the back early morning. Seth Rich. His name was Seth Rich. Don't forget that name. So who knows? Who knows if the claws of the Clintons got to him and were able to get in there and kill him? Maybe just did kill himself, or maybe they actually got him in witness protection. But that's what's so crazy about this story. It can go anywhere, and there's no answers, so nobody knows. So that's how these conspiracy theories happen. And this one's crazy because this is a high-powered guy with a lot of high-powered people involved. So for this guy just to wind up dead is not, it doesn't sit well with anybody. So back to the article here. Epstein was taken off suicide watch, which TMZ reported the same way, which required a check every 15 minutes despite a July 23rd incident where he was found with injuries to his neck. So that's what I was talking about. He's already tried to attempt to kill himself. He should have been checked on every 15 minutes. This guy should have had no chance to do this. He had been downgraded to special observation status, which requires 2 guards to make separate checks on him every 30 minutes, but that procedure was not followed, a source has told Reuters. So again, how does this happen? How did he get out of this? How did these guards not follow it? And that's where the conspiracies and where this whole thing just gets crazy. Like, how do you let such a high profile person, where's the supervisors? How does this fail to happen? It's amazing to me that this actually happened. And that's why this news story is so huge. I mean, we're talking about who knows how many children were raped, molested by these high-powered people, and the main person is now dead. He was able to kill himself. This should have never happened. It's insane. So moving on to a Yahoo news story here. As an inmate in the special housing unit at the MCC, Epstein should have been checked on by a correctional officer every 30 minutes, according to the Bureau of Prison Protocols, but the sources told ABC News that the protocol was not followed prior to Epstein's death by suicide. Again, so there's another source telling ABC News that they didn't follow the procedures. How did this happen? I don't know if we're ever going to get the answers, but it's just insane. And so here's a kind of a nice little tidbit that I found on the Yahoo article. The 2 guards that were at the special housing unit where Epstein was housed were both on overtime. One officer was working a mandatory overtime shift. So mandatory, he was told you're working overtime. The other officer was working his 5th overtime shift in a week. 5th overtime shift in a week. That's crazy. A single source familiar with the matter told ABC News. This first was reported by CNN. So these articles are coming from everywhere. It's coming from all different places where these sources are coming from. And they're all kind of correlating with each other. But now these guards were on mandatory overtime, and the other one was on his 5th overtime shift of the week. So, excuse me there. So I don't know what's going on with this. This is just an absolute mess. And I'm glad William Barr is investigating this and getting to the bottom of it, and the Inspector General is going to open their case. But again, I'm not very confident with it. I mean, look at the nonsense of the Mueller report. 2 years it's been going on, and it's still just an absolute mess. We need much more transparency in our country. It's not going to get any better until we get more transparency in this country. All these documents that are sealed and you can't see and you don't know what's going on. Why? Why are all these hidden from the American public? All this stuff needs to be declassified. The American public needs to see what's going on. The government is too big, too corrupt. Let the American people see and let them look at the facts and let them come to their own decisions. But when you leave everything in the dark, this is what happens. The whole American public becomes uneasy. Nobody knows what's going on. And that's how these crazy conspiracies go on. So now moving on to this next article. It's about his medical autopsy here. So Jeffrey Epstein's autopsy has been completed according to the city officials, but the medical examiner's office needs further information before determining a cause of death. I thought he hung himself. Sources tell the Post that the determination will likely come early next week. So what are they waiting on? Are they waiting on a toxicology report? Are they waiting on... How do they not know? I thought he hung himself. I thought that was the first... Everybody said he hung himself. If you walked into the room and he's dead and he's got a sheet around his neck, it's pretty obvious he hung himself. So what is there to answer? How is there even more questions? Why could the medical examiner not come out with an official cause of death? Boom, instantly. How did that not happen? Did he not hang himself by a sheet? That's what was reported everywhere. He hung himself just like the first time, but the medical examiner can't come up with an answer. Again, you don't want these conspiracies flying around. Then you need to be more transparent. There needs to be much more transparency. And again, this goes beyond politics. And if you ask me, this guy was a predator on our children, human trafficker. His island needs to be raided, and they need to get down to the bottom of what was going on in that island. Why don't they have search warrants for this island? They already raided one of his houses, and they found underage pictures of females. Every property this guy owns should be raided. I don't understand what's going on here. You already have the proof. There's enough proof, obviously, for him to not even get bail. What's going on here? Why is this guy not being investigated even further, if you ask me? This goes, like I said, this is beyond politics. This is a vile person, a demonic person that is targeting our children. And that's what's going on. Human trafficking is a huge issue in this country. And it's because rich people like this guy has an island where he can go down there and nobody's overwatching this. And from what I'm aware, it's U.S. Virgin Islands, so it's U.S. territory. So why can we not go down there and dig into this crazy island? And if you go look for yourself. Google his island. He's got like a temple, and just it's a very sick looking island. It's not normal. It's very different. So I hope they investigate this guy more. I hope they get down to the bottom of this, and I hope just because he's dead, this case is not dropped, and they keep digging and digging and digging further. And please be transparent for the American public so we can see what is going on with this sick pervert who is attacking our children, grooming our children, and taking them down to this island. So that's all I got on Epstein. So this morning, a good article came out. The Trump administration, came out with a new plan that he's got, and I'm all for it. So here it is. Trump administration boosts ability to deny green cards to immigrants using the welfare programs. Who has a problem with this? Not me. Bravo. Thank you, Mr. Trump. If you're going to come into this country, and this is what Trump has talked about, I'm not against immigration. I don't think any American really is against immigration, but we are against this illegal immigration and the nonsense and the craziness of how it is. We need to have true, better standards for immigration. Trump always talks about, come here. We want to bring the best people here. Why do we want to bring people that are going to come here and mooch off our system? Listen, there should be a line set up or a system. It's just like anything else. You want to get into a college, you got to have good grades. Or you want to get into a certain program, you got to have good grades to get into these certain college programs or these trades. Same thing. If you want to get into this country, in your home countries, go to school, make yourself useful. Sorry. Bring something to this country. Don't just immigrate here and then be on the welfare system. How does that make any sense? We have millions of Americans that are already hungry and hurting and trying to get ahead in life. So why are we going to bring more people into this country that don't offer anything. They're not bringing anything. They're just sucking off the system. I don't think anybody has a problem with immigration. Like I said, I don't have a problem. It's the illegal immigration. And I was talking to somebody this weekend about it. It would be for me, everybody talks about that it's the Mexican immigration and Trump's a racist and blah, blah, blah. Listen, it would be absolutely no different for me if Canadians, who is 90% white up there in Canada, were flooding over our border into this country from Canada. I would say the same. There would be not a single, I would say nothing different. Build a damn wall up there in Canada. Do not let any of these Canadians into our country unless they are coming through here legally. It has nothing to do with race, ethnicity, color. It's just we cannot take immigrants from any country. If we were being flooded over into this country by Canadians, there'd be no difference. Our school systems would be getting overwhelmed. Our communities would be getting overwhelmed. Our housing, our traffic, everything that has to do with immigration would be getting overwhelmed. You cannot just have illegal immigration where people can come into this country nonstop. Nothing to do with color, nothing to do with race, nothing to do with anything like that. It's legal immigration. Come here properly. Come here the right way. Okay, moving on to the last article of the day here. Good old Joe Goofy Biden. This guy, I don't know. I personally think he's going to be the candidate, but I don't know. He's making some pretty big gaffes here. So over the weekend, Joe Biden said when he was vice president, when the deadly high school shooting in Parkland, Florida took place, except it happened in 2018, more than a year and a half after he left office, the latest gaffe by Democratic presidential frontrunner. Biden told reporters in Iowa on Saturday that those kids in Parkland came up to see me when I was vice president. You weren't the vice president. When they visited Capitol Hill to talk with members of Congress, lawmakers were basically cowering, not wanting to see them. They did not want to face it on the camera. Joe Biden, what are you doing, dude? Like, I mean, this is nothing new. I kind of believe this is why Obama hasn't come out and completely backed Joe Biden yet, because he's crazy. He's a bumbling fool. He just comes out and says the goofiest things all the time. So this is nothing new, but this one's pretty bad because he's sitting there talking like he was up there as the vice president in DC at the time when the Parkland shooting. And he's just literally, this is like making stuff up that Congress didn't want to cower to them, didn't want to talk to him due to the gun debates and everything else. You weren't even there, Joe Biden. You weren't even the vice president. So this was a big goof from Joe Biden. And this is going to be tough moving forward with his primary voters. Biden, you got to tell the truth. These voters are going to start dropping from you. I personally think Joe Biden is going to come out victorious unless he keeps doing these big goofs like this. And then probably Elizabeth Warren will probably pull ahead of him. But we'll see. There's still a long time to go in the primaries. But Joe Biden, this is not the first time he's goofed up. But man, the Democrats are in trouble. They've got to pick from this guy who's the most moderate of the picks. This is the best they got, and he can't even talk straight. He can't put a sentence together for the life of him. He can't keep his hands off people. And this is what the Democrats have. They either have Biden, who's the closest moderate, which I believe will give Trump the hardest run for his money, or you go into the far progressive. You go into the Elizabeth Warrens, who wants to give reparations, take our guns, and then it just gets even worse from there. So Biden is going to be the toughest candidate for Trump. I think Trump beats him handily, no problems. I mean, can you imagine when they start debating? Trump's going to rip this guy apart, and this guy's going to really start talking goofy. But it's the Democrats. You guys got a bunch of bad candidates. That's my opinion. I'm happy with it because I like Trump. I like what Trump's done with this country. I like our economy. I like everything that's going on. Here's a tweet from Trump that I want to put up here. Joe Biden just said, "We believe in facts, not truth. Does anybody really believe he is mentally fit to be president? We are playing in a very big and complicated world. Joe doesn't have a clue." I mean, Joe says we believe in facts, not truth. How does that even make sense? So Trump's already all over him, and it's not going to end. And this is just crazy. The Democrat Party's a mess. This country's a mess. We need to all start coming together and trying to really work things out. But I'm really appalled by the Jeffrey Epstein. That's why I spent most of my show today on Jeffrey Epstein, because this goes beyond politics. This is a vile predator, and every person linked to this needs to be found. They need to be pushed. The light needs to be shown on them, and nothing needs to be sealed, hidden. Let everybody know who was doing everything. And like I said, even if Trump was involved in any of this, he needs to be put out there just like every other sick predator that this guy was attached to. Anyhow, that's all I got for you guys today. Thank you. I appreciate it. I hope the live stream worked good, but I'm just working on some tweaks. I can't see anything. I'm just talking, and I know it's being streamed live, but I need to keep working on some of my plugins and some of the apps that go with it. Thank you guys. I appreciate it. I will see you guys tomorrow. Please leave your comments below. Subscribe to my YouTube channel. And that's all I got for you guys today. Enjoy your day. I will talk to you tomorrow, and I love this country with all my heart. Talk to you later.